a bit. The emphasis is on the 2. We've decided the timing, or we know that the timing is 3/4, quarter, 1. So we have a 3/4, quarter, 1, 3/4, quarter, 1. So if that audience starts to clap on the 2, we should not be encouraged to make the 2 much stronger, but we should make the 2 much longer. If we are doing 3/4, quarter, 1 timing, 3/4, quarter, 1, 3/4, quarter, 1, which step do you think is the quickest step in the jive chassis? The first one, the second one, or the third one? Now that I know you have considered this problem for quite a while, or those of you who are too lazy to think, I will tell you the answer. The third step is the quickest step in the jive chassis, and I'll tell you why. This is because the 3/4, quarter, 1 timing is the time spent between the steps. For instance, if I do the first step, between the first step and the second step is 3/4 of a beat. Between the second step and the third step is only a 1/4 of a beat, after which I am able to use the rest of that beat up by lowering the heel. So we do a 3/4, quarter, 1, 3/4, quarter, 1. So that's why the third step is the quickest to arrive, but the longest because we have to lower that heel in order to change direction. So one more time, 3/4, quarter, 1, 3/4, quarter, 1. Very quick to arrive, but very long to lower that heel and to change direction. So if we are using 3/4, quarter, 1 timing, the third step is the quickest. We are now going to see if that little jive action that we have been talking about, the pendulum swing and the timing, is possible to do to music. The first piece of music I will choose will be much slower so we can see more clearly the jive action. We will then speed up in the second piece of music and see if it is still possible to maintain the same movement. So to begin with, we have to make sure that the weight is well over the balls of the feet, even before we begin to chassis. We then make sure that we're doing 3/4, quarter, 1 timing, longer speed at the end, lowering the heel to create a natural hip swing. We are not letting our head weight anticipate the movement. We are swinging underneath the head to create a pendulum swing and not transferring too much weight to the outside foot because then we cannot swing back. I will do that backwards for you. 3/4, quarter, 1. Letting the hip swing underneath the head, not the head swinging and then the body following. Well, just for you, I'm going to try the same exercise, but this time we're going to speed up the music and see if I can try and maintain the same movement. Whoa, that sounds a bit quicker. So let's establish our weight on the balls of the feet before we start to chassis. Remember, keep the hips swinging underneath the head. We are not going to let the head lead the way, and we are not going to transfer too much weight to the last step because then we cannot change direction. A very natural hip action underneath the head. Let's take a look at that from the back. Remembering to swing underneath the head, not let the head lead the body weight. Woo! See those hips move. Come on, everybody. And now to a more serious note. Let's look at the back rock in jive. The two most important things we have discussed so far are the 3/4, quarter, 1 timing and the swing action in the jive. So as we have seen already from the chassis and the little demonstration I did for you earlier, it is very easy to achieve the swing action in the chassis. But how do we achieve this in the back rock? Basically by applying the same principles. Once we have completed the action of a chassis, we are on the upswing of the pendulum movement. So if we are going to do a back rock, it should be a downswing in order to swing up again. So we have completed the third step of the jive chassis. We have to downswing in order to get our back rock. In order to get the action correct from the last step of the chassis, the feeling is the leg is swinging backwards. Remember, our body weight is still forward, so the first point of contact to the floor is the inside edge of the back foot. From here, if I transfer too much body weight onto the back foot, I'm not going to be able to create a swing, and I'm not going to be able to transfer my body weight back onto the forward step in order to continue with the chassis. So from here, once I have made that contact with the inside edge of the back foot, there's no more weight transference, but there is a lowering of the back heel, which, as you can see, will create a hip swing, which will be able to swing back in order to continue with the jive chassis. One more time, we're taking it from the second chassis, we swing the leg back, it hits inside edge, I continue to lower the heel, there's a natural swing of the hip action, we will swing back, I'll repeat that again, in order to start the downswing of the jive chassis. Let's take a closer look at the knee action. So if we look at the knee action of a jive chassis, we should be able to get a very soft leg action without actually transferring weight. So a very good exercise to get the correct action of the knees is by keeping two feet flat and just flexing the knees in order to transfer the body weight. If I do this, you will notice in the end of a jive chassis, when I get to the inside edge and I lower the foot, there is a natural straightening of my now left leg as I transfer weight. So at the end of the two, there is a natural straightening of the leg. I say natural straightening because I don't want to aim for a straight leg, otherwise it becomes very blocked. I said, as I get to the inside edge, I lower the heel, and because the heel is lowering, you notice there is a natural straightening of the knee at the end of the jive chassis. This applies the same if I'm doing the back rock, inside edge. As I lower that heel, you see there's a natural straightening of the back leg, and as I replace the weight, there's a natural straightening of the leg in order to create the hip action and continue with the jive chassis and the back rock. Well, this all seems okay while our feet are on the floor, but what happens when we start to do kickball changes? These kicking type actions, I'm sure you have seen with many famous couples doing demonstrations, and also maybe by watching competitions. Kicking actions include the kickball change, and now we have very many kicking variations, sometimes side by side, moving forward in the jive. These kicking variations originated from a rock and roll type action, but rock and roll type action is much more up and down because they use all quicks. Our jive action is 3/4, quarter, one timing. So even if we are doing a kick moving forward, we should still be applying this 3/4, quarter, one being the longest beat. So one, we still have to absorb the music in order to continue kicking. This is very easy, as we said, if we are keeping our feet on the floor. And especially, it's very easy to do a very quick flick or kickball change. But if the music is very slow, we still have to maintain the same speed of the feet. So the speed of the feet on the one, will still be very quick. And we use up the rest of the music by the transference of weight onto the other leg before we do the kickball change on the other foot. So if I do that for you one more time, we are doing a kick, ball change, a kick, ball change. So we still have to use up the rest of the second beat. So if we are doing a rock and roll type movement and we do not use up the rest of that two beat, the second beat, the 3/4, quarter, one, if we just keep on kicking very quickly, as fast as possible, if we continue the whole jive with that action, we are going to eventually be out of time. And as I said earlier, if the music is very quick, it's very easy to disguise the fact that we are not using 3/4, quarter, one timing. But if the music is very slow, it is imperative that we keep the speed of the one and use the rest of the time up in the two. So I'm going to do another little solo demonstration for you. First of all, to slower music, and second of all, to a little bit quicker music, doing a kickball change type action moving forward, and hopefully you can still see the absorption through the feet and the clear timing of the three-quarter, quarter one.
Okay, here goes. And a one, a two, a one, a two, a one, a two, a one, a two. We have to keep the speed and still maintain. Ooh, a little bit slower in the action, not so clear and not so crisp. Pump those legs and use the second beat is very, very important. A two, a one, a two, a one, a two, a one, a two.
Well, with music being played that slow, you definitely have to work a lot harder to maintain the speed and the difference in the speeds between the three-quarter, quarter one timing. Let's try that action again, if I have enough energy, to something or a tune that's a wee bit quicker.
And here we go with a warm-up. 5, 6, 7, and 1, 2, 3, 4. A 1, a 2, a 1, a 2, a 1, a 2, a 1, a 2. Keep those legs pumping, still using the three-quarter, quarter. Uh-oh, a lot of flicking, but timing not so clear. Ah, that's better. A 1, a 2, 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 a 1, a 2. Cool.
Well, I hope you saw in those little demonstrations that I did for you that it is possible to keep the timings even when you are doing a kicking action moving forwards, and the same applies if you're doing a kicking movement moving backwards and in kickball changes. So at this point in the video, I'd like to reintroduce my partner onto the floor, and we're going to continue talking about jive, the movement, but this time how to do it together. So as we have seen from our little solo demonstrations, it's very easy to jump around when you're on your own. But now we're hopefully going to jump around together with our partners. So if we do the jive chassis as we discussed earlier and our back rock, it is very, very simple to apply those principles that we learned earlier on. But now there's one big major difference. We have the common denominator, the connection. This, as you all know, those of you who have been paying close attention in the Roomba video, is only a present. So I give a present to Karen of my body weight of a connection, so that in fact on a back rock, her range of movement is far greater than if she didn't have that nice little present, because she would have to check her own body weight in order to move forward. But because we have a common center, we are both moving off that common center, replacing our weight before we continue the jive chassis. One more time. A 1, a 2, a 1, a 2, a back, replace. Now, the jive, especially the back rock, is very difficult to lead, gentlemen, and very different from the other dances that we have talked about in our other videos, because of the fact that as Karen is commencing to move backwards, I am moving backwards at the same time. Wrong. We are not moving backwards at the same time, because I am leading Karen to move backwards from my body weight before I make my back step, so that Karen will get the information to move back before I commence to move my body back. Because as we know from the other videos, it is not possible to move at the same time, because we are trying to still maintain the swing movement. And because we have this great present between us, we can get a far greater swing movement. A 1, a 2, a 1, wee, a 1, a 2, 1, a 2, wee. So, ladies, very, very important. You have a very nice present in front of you that you can use to help you swing a little bit further. So, one major problem that we find, especially when we're watching jiving competitions, is that the lady is so preoccupied with the swing, she's not transferring enough body weight, and the head is left too far forward. So if we demonstrate it incorrectly, we both look like we're trying to create a full swing by just leaving the head forward and giving the priority to the hip, But as we now know, the swing is created by the movement of the body and the lowering of the free leg, the lowering of the heel on the second beat of a jive chassis. So, if we do the same movement, A1, A2, A1, A2, and from here we do a change of place to A1, A2, A1, A2, the biggest surprise to most people is that a change of place consists of chassis. So we have to apply the same principle that we did to the chassis in the beginning of the lesson to the chassis that we are doing now. Namely, the 3/4 quarter one timing, and most of all, the one that most ladies forget to do, which is the natural straightening of the leg at the end of the second beat. 1, 2, 3/4 quarter, 1, 3/4 quarter, 1, back, replace. So a change of place consists of different chassis. Exactly the same for the gentleman. We have a back rock, replacing our weight. A 3/4 quarter, 1 chassis, and a 3/4 quarter, 1 chassis, moving towards the lady. If we do that one more time for you, we have a 1, 2, a 1, a 2, and moving towards the lady, a 2. And from here, gentlemen, we know we have to lead the back rock before we commence our back rock in order to do the jive chassis. And now I'm going to share some useful information with you about shaping. Shaping is very important in jive because by use of my body shaping, I'm going to indicate to Karen where I would like the direction of her next step to be. So for instance, if we are doing just a normal jive chassis, in close hold and a back rock, we get quite a natural shaping because of the actions of the lower half of the body. If I wanted to change the direction, however, I would have to change the shape, as if I went into the downswing of the pendulum movement, there's no way that in the next step Karen will be able to move through underneath the arm. So if I want to change direction, I change the shape very early to give Karen the space to be able to make the change. If we do that one more time, a 1, 2. If I continue with the natural swing, or if I want to change the shape, if I want to change the direction, I do so by changing my body shape, which will indicate to Karen that I would like her to change direction. One more time. A 1, 2. The natural swing, and a change of shape. So I'm creating enough space for Karen to go through very easily. From here, if we continue with a back rock and a change of place, one more time, if I go into the natural feeling of a chassis, Karen will follow my direction. If I want to lead a change of place, I will have to shape my left side very strongly, which encourages Karen to move past me very easily and very freely. So if we do that one more time, 1, 2, a 1, a 2, a 1, a 2. So if we are doing an American spin, for instance, if I take this side away, the information for Karen is to continue to move forward. So if I want to do an American spin, I will block her movement, and she knows to do an American spin, because basically she's got nowhere else to go. A 1, 2. I block the movement. So that's why in our little basic routine, we've got one American spin with a right to right hand hold, and we have one American spin with a left to right hand hold. So that if I am doing a left to right hand hold, it is now my left shoulder that is coming forward, changing the shape, and that's blocking Karen, so she's got nowhere else to go except to turn. So if we do that for you one more time, a back replace, I block the way with the right side if I'm doing right to right hand hold. If I'm doing American spin with the left side, I block it with the left side. Continue stretching the left side, giving Karen a lot of movement to move through with no particular problem. And this is the aims and the goals of using shaping. Well, I hope you enjoyed this little segment with me about movement in the jive. I cannot stress enough the importance of the 3/4, quarter 1 movement, because for me, this is where the jive is going incredibly wrong. Anyway, throughout the video, you will hear me saying and stressing about the timing, so I'm sure by the time you get to the end of this video, you will definitely know what I'm on about. So here we are at the character of the jive. When I first started dancing, I thought the jive was about having the most energy and being able to finish the final. But now we know better. So let's see. So far, we've met each other in the carnival in Rio. We've danced a cheeky cha-cha-cha in a smoky disco bar. We've then fallen in love and had a little entanglement in the rumba. We survived the fiery divorce of the Paso Doble, and we finally reached the jive.
So the idea of the jive has had many origins. We've got the West Coast influence of America, the East Coast influence, and a lot of it has been all derived from cafes and bars where people have just got up to have a great deal of fun. So I hope in this next section our idea is to show you how the characters can be influenced, and too much of one and not enough of another can ruin the whole dance. So we could have too much swing action and it's too heavy, or we can have too much rock and roll action and it's too boppy. So our aim in the next section is to give you a combination of our two ideas of a swing and a rock and roll influence to give you the jive.
Okay, so in our first example, we're going to keep it down, dirty, and swinging. Still using the correct timing of the jive. We're incorporating a lot of swing action coming from America, the East Coast, West Coast. Using the body to create the swing, changing the body weight. Even the kickball change actions, keeping them low and swinging. So let's try and change that now and get a little bit more flicking. Whoa! Flicking actions with the knees. Keeping the legs pumping. Flicking from the knee. Was more energetic. But if we keep going like this, we're sure going to run out of energy, because it takes a lot of energy to pump those knees. Alright, so let's try and incorporate those two movements in what we know as a Western style jive. And keeping it low and dirty, down and swinging, and changing with a little kickball change action. Pumping those legs and into a low back swing. Using the body weight to move the lady. Down and dirty, and high and kicking. Yep, I'm much happier with that one.
Wow, that was a lot of hard work, but I hope from that you were able to see three very different characteristics. The first one, very swingy and low. The second one, very high and boppy. And the third one, a combination of the two to create the competitive characteristic of the jive. What we're now going to do is to keep that characteristic and now change the music. So let's try and dance it now to a very hip-hop, poppy, disco type jive.
So let's keep the same steps, but change the music and see how this influences our characteristics.
3, 5, 4, mama, 4, mama, 4, mama, 4, mama,
A sweet little kiss when we embrace. A pretty little smile that's always on your face. Some cute little shoes to make your feet look neat. Some pretty little dancing steps from your little feet. And that's all, well that's all I want.
So the ultimate test, let's keep the same music, the same choreography, and see if we can change the characteristics one more time.
3, 5, 4, mama, for mama, for mama, for mama. 3, 5, 4, mama, do do do, wop, mama, do do do, wop, mama, do do do, wop, mama, do do do, wop.
A sweet little kiss when we embrace. A pretty little smile that's always on your face. Some cute little shoes to make your feet look neat. Some pretty little dancing steps from your little feet. And that's all, well that's all I want.
3, 5, 4, mama, do do do, wop, mama, do do do, wop.
Well, now that we've shed our many skins of our characteristics, I hope that you have seen from our demonstrations how it's possible to vary the different timings and the different characteristics towards one another, that you get a different intention.
So please note that it's not only the face that's changing, it's the body shapes, it's the body language. I hope if you can rewind the video and have a look at the different shapes that we were able to make, and that we weren't just restricting ourselves to sticking to our jive choreography and kicking away with the feet. We were able to develop the movements and push ourselves to the limits.
Well, leading on from this changing of characteristics, we are now going to try and change the program. So stay with us. We're going to change little bits of the program, and also we're going to cover a few problems that you might have with regards to these changes. So where else better to start than right at the beginning of the routine? If you have been following us from the beginning of this video, you will know that we started our little basic routine with a basic in place. So we did a basic in place, and then I led Karen to do an underarm turn, the double spin before I change of place, leading Karen into the American spin. So we will keep the change in place, and we are now going to do only one turn underneath the arm before we commence our change of place. And here in the American spin is where the first changes occur. Karen did a 1, 2, a 1, a 2, a 1, a 2. So we're going to keep the same timing. Gentlemen, when we moved into the American spin, a 1, a 2, we did a back rock in order to do our chassis. Instead of the back rock, we are going to do a step back, a step to the side, locking around the lady, and finishing with another chassis around the lady to make one complete turn. So if it's American spin for you, a 1, 2, a 1, a 2, a 1, a 2. Ladies, if you have been paying attention, you'll note that Karen is overturning the first step, 1, 2. Instead of coming directly forward, she's overturning the first step in order to get her American spin. So if we do that one more time from the beginning, from the basic in place, we're only doing one turn under the arm, leading into the American spin, back to the side, cross in front, chassis, to make one full turn. As you have noticed, in our basic routine, we did a double turn under the arm in the first step. But now we are only doing one turn under the arm, because in improving the routine, I am actually going to take a turn away, because sometimes less is more. And also because Karen is turning underneath the arm, and then we are continuing with American spin. So the rotation, she's rotating one way, change of place, and now is a lot of rotation in the American spin. So if we did a double turn here before we did the American spin, we'd be in a lot of trouble. So I'll do that change of variation one more time for you. And gentlemen, straight away afterwards, I'll continue with any problems that might arise in this change of variation. So one more time for you. The basic in place, chassis. The one turn underneath the arm. And the American spin moving around the lady. Ready to continue with the second American spin of our basic program. So, gentlemen, the change of place, the basic in place is fairly simple because you all have been paying much attention to the video throughout. We know about shaping in the change of place, and here we are at the American spin. So if I can do that sideways for you, because I am doing back to the side, gentlemen, it's very important that you leave your arm in front of you. If I try to move the arm because I'm moving or rotating to the right, or if I leave the arm and only change the body, one more time, Karen is not getting the correct information. So the most important idea, gentlemen, is that Karen is going to be the center of the American spin, and I am going to be moving around her. So it's imperative that I keep Karen's body weight very centered and move my complete turn around Karen. So if we do that one more time, a 1, 2, a 1, a 2, a 1, a 2. Still noting that I am leading the American spin. Too far across? Remember. Moving the body, no good. Open the side, move across, and lead the American spin so Karen can continue to turn on her own. Still very lined up and be in the center of the rotation.
So ladies, I'm sure we're okay doing the basic in place and the underarm turn. I'm now going to take you straight to the problems that we are going to incur on the development of the American spin. So here we are now at the beginning of this American spin section, and it's hard, ladies, I have to promise you. But what I want to do is to take you right back to the beginning of the video, where I was mentioning when we have a substantial amount of turn on the third step of a chassé, we will change the footwork. So we will now have ball, 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 and not ball, ball, ball flat. So if we now look at this step and dance for you, a 1, 2, ball, 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 flat. That is where we're using the ball to continue the rotation of the step, and that's why it was important to mention that to you at the beginning of the routine. Let's look at the step again now, and because we're turning, don't overlook that we are still doing chassés, so we still have to apply all the principles that we've mentioned throughout the video. Mainly because when we dance the spin turn at the beginning, the American spin, I'm sorry, when we danced it at the beginning, Brian mentioned that his feeling is like a wall and that he is bracing my movement, restricting me from going anywhere else other than making a turn. What I feel now, I've still got the wall, but all that's happening is that the wall is moving, but I'm still continuing with my basic chassé movement. So let's demonstrate that for you. I'm still imagining that the bracing the wall, I'm still imagining that I'm using the resistance of the wall and that I'm not just panicking. So if I start to panic and think of my turn, we are going to have a problem at the very end of the step. Remember, Brian spoke about the landing of the feet, using the inside edge of the feet. Look at the very, very last step. And a 1, 2, a 1, a 2, a 1, a 2. That's our biggest help that we need to make this step correct. So please be aware. Use the inside edge of the feet, remember the chassé timing, and remember to change the footwork that we're actually doing ball, ball, ball.
So we've looked at American spin. Let's see what we can do with the second one. So after that rather complicated American spin that we did before, let's try and see what we can do to make the second one a little bit more easy. So from that rather complicated one more time, 3 and 4, moving around the lady, we have now connected with left to right hand hold in our basic routine, ready to do the second American spin. But now, instead of doing the American spin, we're going to keep the back rock and we're going to do a little action, a ball change action, still moving towards the lady. One more time. 1, 2. We're going to change the count to and 3. 1, 2, and 3 for the ball change. Gentlemen, turning to the left. Over 2 steps to once again pick up left to right hand hold. One more time. 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, and 6. Finishing with the last bit of the chassis. So if we do that one more time for you. 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, and 6. Ready to continue with our basic program. Gentlemen, not too many problems with this step. Our main problem when we are doing this little ball change action is not to overstride from the back rock. So if we do that one more time, 1, 2, and 3, as you can see, there was a little collision which we would like to avoid. So the idea is, once we have our little present in the center, we can both judge the amount of distance that we are moving towards one another. If Karen comes in too far, or if I move past the center, we are going to have a problem. So because Karen knows where my center is from my body weight, from our connection, she knows how much distance she can move into, and likewise, I know how much distance I can move into. So from our back rock, we can judge the distance without any problem. Please note, gentlemen, that once I have established that center, the center is not moving. So if I do that one more time from the back rock, all that is happening is that the hand is moving slightly upwards in order to bring the lady in. 1, 2, and 3. From this position, I am still leading the turn, gentlemen, because the gentleman is turning to the left and the lady is doing the normal opposite step. We are both turning outwards, but I still have to lead the step from my body movement before I commence to do my turn. Otherwise, Karen will not get the correct information. One more time. 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Ladies, I'm hoping we're not going to have too many problems here. Should be quite easy. Let's have a look. Well, basically, as we're doing normal opposite, the same problems are going to occur. So let's have a look, ladies. First of all, don't anticipate, don't go too close to the man. Almost feel that you're going back on yourself. That's the easiest way to think about this step. If we're getting too much into the music, we're going to forget the control, the landing, all the principles we spoke about. So what I'd like you to think about is to go back on yourselves and get ready to correctly dance that last chassis.
And let's swing right into our next development. So we're going to skip quite a large section of the routine. We're going to move through the whips. We're going to move through the kickball change actions that we showed you earlier. And we're going to pick it up from the change of place just before we go into the promenade walks. So if my lovely partner would join me, we're doing the change of place into the promenade walks in our basic program. We did a 1, 2. We did 2 slow ones and 4 quick ones into the throwaway action. So let's see what we can do with this. From our back rock action, a 1, 2, we're going to pick up a kick ball change action. For a kick ball change, a kick ball change. We're going to do 2 kick ball change actions. One more time. A 1, 2, a kick ball change, a kick ball change. From here, we're going to do a tap, point, step, step. One more time for you. A back replace, a kick ball change, a kick ball change, a tap, point, step, step. we're going to continue with 2 kickball change actions before we move into our throwaway action. So just to spice this up a little bit more for you, while we are doing the kickball change actions, gentlemen, we're going to make a quarter turn to face the lady to our right, and as you can see, Karen is going to kick ball change forward. So the feeling is, instead of a kick ball change, we're going to keep the same timing, but we're going to a point ball change, a point ball change, while Karen is doing a kick ball change, turning to face the man. So it will look something like back rock, a 1, a 2, a 1, a 2. From this position, we're going to do a rotation in, a rotation out to do the point. You're going to rotate strongly inside the frame to make the next step. From here, we can do one more time the kick ball change action for the ladies, while the gentleman is doing almost a point ball change. So if we do that for you one more time, a 1, 2, a 1, a 2, 1, a 2, 1, 2, a 1, 2, 1, a 2, 1, a 2. Ready once more to pick up our throwaway action and continue into our basic routine. Problems relating to this step. Gentlemen, I'm not going to scare you, but I have to bring up this dreaded word of a frame again. Yes, this whole group that we're going to do for you is very important and relies a lot on the consistency of your frame. So one more time if we do this for you. A 1, 2, a 1, a 2, a 1, a 2. So the idea is I have to maintain the frame, and as I mentioned earlier, the body is turning very strongly inside the frame, but the frame is not turning. If I try to do turning as much as I possibly can inside the frame, Karen is not going to be able to do the correct action. So the idea of the movement is Karen's movement or Karen's rotation is greater than what my rotation is, but I still have to lead it from the body movement. So my body is turning slightly, encouraging Karen to turn, but because of her amount of turn on the standing foot, she will feel an almost bouncing action in order to create the right movement. So one more time, my rotation is not as great as Karen's rotation. If I try to rotate the same amount, there is no way that we are going to maintain this movement, especially to music. So Karen's rotation is greater than mine, 1, a 2, 1, a 2. This applies in the next little step as well. If I try to rotate the same amount, there is no way we are going to make it in time. So Karen's rotation is much greater than mine, so I'm still maintaining the frame, I am still indicating the direction from my body, although Karen's rotation is far greater than mine.
As Brian mentioned, the lady has a greater amount of turn. So let's look a little bit closer as to how we are going to achieve this amount of turn. So let's just have a little further insight into how we're going to achieve this over-rotation for the lady. If I look at Brian's body, if we focus on the shoulders, we can imagine this to be related to a coat hanger, where we will then place the clothes on top. Once the clothes is on the coat hanger, it is only from this point down that there is movement of the clothes. But the coat hanger still remains the support, or in our dancing terminology would be the frame. So if we start to move this frame, we start to incur many, many problems. So what I'd like you to do now is to have a look at the muscles that are situated at the back here as well. So once again, we've got our coat hanger here, and we've got movement from here down. And we've not got movement from the shoulders. So if I ask Brian to face forward, thank you. Let's now have a look at the step and apply the same principles. Here is my coat hanger, my shoulders and my head. I do the back rock, and already on the back rock, you can see that there's a rotation underneath my shoulders and that I'm not pulling or affecting Brian's lead or Brian's frame. So keeping that frame in front, I'm using the underneath of my body, situated underneath my shoulders. And now let's look at the tap steps here. We've got tap, point. Now these next two steps are very difficult. It's the greatest rotation that we're going to get. So let's focus first on this side to bring me around and this side to do the second step. And through, through. And once again, we're going to do the kickball change, focusing on those muscles underneath.
And now let's look at our last development of our little basic jive routine. So let's pick up one more time where we left off. I just done the throwaway action with Karen after our kickball change actions, and we were ready to continue in our jive basic routine with the stop and go. But instead of doing the stop and go, let's see what we can do to make it a little bit more competitive. From here, instead of doing the chassis, ladies, you're going to do a little ball change, 1, 2, remaining on the balls of your feet for the second step. 1, 2, and 3. Gentlemen, you are still leading the lady across in front of you. So we have started with the left to right hand hold. I'm leading the lady in cross, changing to a right to right hand hold. Gentlemen, the steps are for you as follows. Back rock, 2, a 1, 2, and 3. So we're also doing an and 3 count. Together, a 1, 2, and 3. So ladies, you're still on 2 balls. You're going to do a side step for 4 before you do in a double turn in order to finish the chassé. One more time, a 1, 2, and 3. Gentlemen, we're doing a step to the side 4 before we do our chassé, following the lady in order to connect. One more time, right to right hand hold. And a 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, and 6. We're going to do a throwaway action here, ladies. And gentlemen, we are going to use our body weight in order to make this action, so we are not going to use any steps. We are just going to lunge away from the lady in order to use our body weight to get the lady moving, following the lady with a cross behind instead of a chassis action. So altogether, that looks like a 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, and 6, 7, 8, 1, and 2, 3, and 4. Let's look at this step one more time and cover any problems that might arise. Well, gentlemen, the bad news is most of these problems will arise from the lead. So, one more time, after the back rock, it is very important that I want to keep Karen's step as small and contained and on balance as possible. So if this arm is a little bit too long, Karen is not going to be able to cross her feet behind, just like that. Or if I keep it too short, she's not going to be able to get onto the foot. So I have to allow Karen just enough space to be able to cross behind in order to make her legs look very good. A problem on the next step, 1, 2, and 3, because you have another step to the side, ladies, the gentleman has to be very considerate and not lead the next turn too early. 1, 2, and 3. If I start to lead from here, as you can see, Karen cannot make her step forward. So gentlemen, you have to allow the lady to step forward before you lead the turn. One more time. 1, 2, and 3. I let Karen step forward before I lead the turn and do the chassis to finish. Now, gentlemen, when we are using this lunge action to move the lady, it's very important that our body weight is continuing first towards the lady so she gets the information to do the back rock, And I am not changing directions too early because once again, Karen cannot complete her back step. So the idea is my body weight is moving towards Karen, and when she is ready to move out of that foot, that is when I am changing the body weight. So if we do that little lunge action one more time, still towards the lady for the back rock, then I am changing body weight before I do the little cross behind in order to follow Karen. So one more time, looking at the lead, unbalance, step, lead, continue in the same direction, leading the lady past in front of you with the change in your body weight.
So a last look, ladies, at any problems we may have on these last few steps. So taking it from my back rock here, the same feeling applies as we said earlier on when we did the kickball change instead of the American spin. The feeling is that we're turning back on ourselves. So from here, I'm going back on myself. So the feeling is I'm trying to keep my focus in that direction. If my focus is in that direction, now Brian and I will be going in completely opposite directions. The image is, of course, that we're changing places, but we must be aware of each other's center. So all I'm thinking of is turning back on myself. From here, I'm continuing on, I'm doing my spin, and I'm remembering to catch that landing at the end, because as Brian's saying here, he's going to start to lead me into this back step. So if I've just arrived on an empty foot, Brian will give me the lead and I will release my arm here. So as soon as I catch that landing there, we're going to an overswing, to an underswing, and now we're going over the top and underneath again. So I hope you can see the swing that was changing and that we didn't get, if I just demonstrate that one more time, just a run through. So I'm not just running and just running through. If you can still see, we're maintaining the jive swing here with the jive action and back rock over the top and swing in under to do our back step there.
Well, I'm glad to see you still with us. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you have noted all through the video, even though in the demonstrations that we have done for you, sometimes in the back rock, or sometimes using a kickball change, the action of the swing has not changed.
So, without further ado, let's look at these developments to music with our interpretation of our basic routine.
Well, I don't know who's more relieved, us or you, that we are finally coming to the end of our production on Jive. But at this point, I would like to thank you for staying with us for the last hour on behalf of myself, Karen, and Himawari throughout the duration of this production.
And what more can I say other than diamonds have appeared, my partner is here. Let's finish with some of our competitive work in the jive.
And today, I even brought my special shoes. Whoa.